This video podcast is brought to you by McCarter Online.
And I should say too that this is a phenomenal cast that Emily has lined up. I mean, beginning with Suzanne, but
I agree.
Really extraordinary. And do you want to say anything about the casting? Only because you went to some extraordinary lengths to put this cast together.
Yeah.
And it's a special cast.
It's a really great cast, yeah. There are only two Americans in it. The young man who's in love with Suzanne's daughter, who is absolutely adorable and fearless. And
exciting young actor. Yeah.
Very exciting young actor. And he had the kind of, you need someone who's got a sort of audacity about him and a kind of playfulness about him and a very sexy little thing about him without it being, you know, sort of a turn off. In fact, you find him, no matter what your sex is, no matter what your age is, you find him utterly adorable, even though he's just sort of a good for nothing.
Innately charming.
He's innately charming, yes, and he gets away with murder, so that's always fun to watch. And Michael is brilliant at that. I found the Vivi in London. I'd gone to London a month or two ago, and I hadn't yet found the daughter. And in so many ways, you know, it's her play as well as her mother's. And I hadn't quite found the American actress who could both understand the language and keep it very alive for herself at the same time. She was constantly working on making it sound right. And there was this young British actress who just was so full and so alive and so
His father is American.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is that how she got a green card?
That's how she's got a green card. So essentially, she's half American. She's half American. I mean, she hasn't spent time here, but she's got relatives in Washington. Her father is American.
What did you see her in the structure?
She auditioned for me in London, and then she had worked with Peter Hall on three or four productions, and I did drop it up to Peter, and he said she's great, and I believed him, and I believed my eyes, and ears. She was just so fabulous in the auditions.
Edward also was born here, wasn't he?
He's your friend. You've known him 30 years, I've known him 10 minutes.
You might know Edward. He was a recurring role in Frasier. And
I had explained, he's sort of Mrs. Warren's best friend, and I was talking to Suzanne about what I thought that role was. And it's one of the great creations of Shaw, that character.
Marvelous.
And, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as I described him to her, she said, "Oh, well, that's my dear friend Edward." And so you fixed us up.
Yeah, I think he was coming anyway, wasn't he? He said, as soon as he knew that we were talking, he said, "Well, I should go up for that." I mean, he's an extraordinary creature. He's like from another era. I mean, genuinely, in life. It's like having, the era he's probably from is Restoration. He's incredibly articulate and a very wonderful use of the English language himself. I know he's born to play this part.
Born to play this
It's
part.
superb.
Extraordinary, yeah.
Highly amusing.
And who else did we know?
Rocco.
Oh, Rocco's sister. Some of you will know him from New York Theatre Workshop, you guys. Doug Wright wrote Quills for him. And he's playing Sir George Crofts. And as Shaw says, there are no villains in this piece, only the society is the villain for having this hypocrisy and this bad situation for women, and all people actually. But Rocco brings on him as the most darling person, this sort of sinister reality that is quite just innate and brilliant. He's a great, great New York actor. Who else do we have?
And Robin.
Oh, Robin Chadwick. A lot of you know him if you come to the theater. He was in Mrs. Packard playing lots of roles. He was once our Scrooge. He was in the early Marivaux for Stephen Wadsworth. Just a great actor from New Zealand, actually, who understands the English language as well, with the British English language. It's interesting also to be in rehearsal with Americans and New Zealanders, British subjects of all kinds, and realized that we sort of share a common language. But in fact, we need to translate for each other a lot, which is really thrilling.
This podcast has been brought to you by McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey. For tickets, call 609-258-ARTS or visit www.mccarter.org.